Hello everyone, and welcome to our lesson on solving multi-step proportions. So just as a reminder, how do we solve a proportion? Remember, a proportion states that two ratios are equal to each other. So to solve a proportion, we will cross multiply, and then we will set those products equal. So we know that A times D is going to be equal to the product of B times C. So you're multiplying those pieces, and you're setting those cross products equal to each other. A times D is equal to B times C. So today, for the first time, we're going to look at multi-step proportions. What happens when I'm cross-multiplying, and what I'm multiplying from here to here, there's a two-piece thing here. This is a binomial, and so we're going to have to put it, there's more than one thing happening there, so we're going to put that in parentheses. So when we cross-multiply, that ends up being 2 times x plus 1, and we set that cross product equal to the other cross product, which is 4, times this whole thing, which for me is going to be x plus 3. So 4 times that whole thing. So 4 times x plus 3. And then this is just like the distributive property that we did at the beginning of the year. We're going to multiply the 2 times everything in the parentheses here. So it's going to be 2x plus 2. That is going to be equal to 4 times x is 4x, and then 4 times 3 is 12, and that's a positive 12. Okay? And then this just becomes solving an equation. So we're going to move our 2x's to the other side by subtraction to put them over there with the 4x. We cross the equal sign, and we get 2 equals 2x plus 12. And then we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. And when we do that, we get negative 10 equals 2x. And when you divide by 2 on both sides, you're going to get x equals negative 5. Okay? You can plug that in to check it. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 4, plus over 4 is negative 1. So both of those do make two ratios that are, in fact, equal to each other. So we're going to practice that. We're going to keep doing that today. We're going to do a few of these problems, and then you will practice that on your quiz review. And so when we cross multiply these problems, that's going to be 5 times 10. So that's going to be 5 times, 5 times 10 equals the other cross product, which is going to be 12 times this whole thing, m plus 3. But I need to put that in parentheses since there's more than one thing there. So it's going to be 12 times m plus 3. I'm multiplying it by the m and by the 3. So it's going to be 12m plus 36, when you do 12 times 3, equals 5 times 10 is 50. And then we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. When we do that, we're going to do 50 minus 36. 50 minus 36 is going to give me 14. So 14 is going to be equal to 12m. And then we're going to divide by 12 on both sides, and that is going to give me a decimal, which is okay. Some of our problems today are going to give me a decimal. 14 divided by 12 is going to give me, let's round it to the nearest tenth, about 1.2 is what m is going to be. It's about 1.2, 1.166 repeating, and so we're going to round that to about 1.2. So 12 times m plus 3 is equal to 10 times 5, which is 50. Okay, let's do that again on this problem. 4 times this whole thing, x plus 11, let's put that in parentheses. So 4 times x plus 11 is equal to this cross product, which is 5 times 11. So let's write that out, 5 times 11. 5 times 11 is 55 on this side. Then we have to distribute the 4 to the x and to the 11. So that's going to be 4x plus 44 equals 55. We're going to subtract the 44 from both sides. We get 4x equals 11, and then we divide by 4 on both sides. This is going to give me a decimal. 11 divided by 4 is going to give me 2.75, which is about 2.8 if we rounded it to the nearest tenth. Okay, let's do that again. We're going to cross multiply 9 times n minus 8. Make sure you put that in parentheses. So that's going to be 9 times n minus 8 is equal to 11 times 11. 11 times 11 is 121. That is going to be equal to, when we distribute the 9 to the n and to the negative 8, it's going to be 9n minus 9 times 8 is going to give me 72. And we add 72 to both sides. we get 121 plus 72 equals 193. And then I divide by 9 on both sides. Let's see what we get when we do 193 divided by 9. That is going to give me for n 21.4 repeating, so about 21.4. Okay. Number 4, 8 times this whole thing, r plus x, is going to be equal to 9 times 5. 9 times 5. 9 times 5 is 45. That is going to be equal to distributive property, 8r plus 48. So we're going to subtract 48 from both sides. We get 45 minus 48 gives me a negative 3. So 8r equals negative 3. And then we divide by 8 on both sides. And we get r equals negative 3 divided by 8 gives me negative 0.4. When we round it to the nearest tenth is about what that is. Okay? All right, 2 challenge problems. What happens when you have variables on both sides? So when I go to cross multiply these two, I get 8 times n is equal to, I cross multiply this piece, and I'm going to have a variable on both sides, just like our warm up. So that's going to be 9 times n minus 8. So when I distribute, I'm going to get 8n equals 9n minus 72. Okay, and so then when we get our n's on the same side, we move our 9n over. We get negative 1n equals negative 72. And then whenever we divide by negative 1, we end up getting a positive 72. So it is okay if you have variables on both sides. Again, these are just multi-step proportions. All right, let's do that one more time. The hardest version of this question you could possibly see. I'm doing 7 times this whole thing, so I'm going to put it in parentheses. 7 times x minus 5 is going to be equal to 5 times this whole thing, which is going to be x minus 2. So I'm going to have to use the distributive property on each side of this equation. That's going to be 5x minus 10 equals, when you distribute this one, you get 7x minus 35. And so when I get my variables on the same side, I'm going to subtract my 5x. I get 2x minus 35 equals negative 10. And then I'm going to add 35 to both sides. I get 2x equals 25. So when I do 25 divided by 2, that is going to give me 12.5 for x. And so you will have a practice sheet for our quiz on Friday on solving proportions.